Ever since The Lost and Damned, I've been a fan of bikers. Biker culture, biker clubs, chapters, leather jackets, dingy bars, good rock music, open road, motorcycles, Harley Davidsons. I just enjoy that setting and those vibes. So on that very, very basic level, I enjoyed the Bikeriders. I like the concept of biker clubs being kind of like a surrogate family for the members, where it's comprised of a bunch of outcasts and people who have pretty much nowhere else to go, who come together and just have this really close bond with each other, and they just hang out, drink beer, talk about life, and ride their bikes everywhere. And they establish the brotherhood between the Vandals in the Bikeriders fairly well, and I got on board with them as this kind of surrogate family with each other. They had good chemistry with one another, and all the acting was good as well. Austin Butler, Jodie Comer, Tom Hardy was good, but I'm starting to wonder if I'm ever going to hear his natural voice ever again on screen. And I really liked the framework narrative because it's based on a book by a reporter who interviewed members of a biker gang in the 60s and the 70s. And in the film, you have Mike Faist as this reporter who's interviewing Jodie Comer's character, and she's explaining everything about the gang members, the history of the gang. It was a cool way to inform the audience, and it was exposition that didn't feel too exposition-y. So the film's going along, and I'm entertained, I'm never once bored. I enjoy watching the biker club, just hanging out and being the surrogate family and just drinking beers, going to picnics and eating food and whatnot. But I had this nagging feeling that the film should be doing something more. Specifically in the second part of the film, they should be hitting some compelling and emotional beats that it's just not quite nailing. And I think the number one issue with this film for me, the thing that held it back from being great, was simply that the narrative, the characters, just weren't quite compelling enough for the film to be put over the edge as a compelling story. And I think it comes down to the mostly conventional way that the film is made and that the story is told. The story, you see the trailer, you see certain bits of what the gang start doing and certain lines of dialogue, and you can kind of easily guess basically where it's going to go, which is the direction that a lot of biker stories end up going, especially with Austin Butler and Jodie Comer's characters. Austin Butler's character, he is Vandals till I die. He never takes off the colours. He is with this club until the very, very end, whereas Jodie Comer is kind of a normal person who's just married into the gang, kind of, and she doesn't want anything to do with the club anymore at one point. And she basically does the whole it's me or the club argument with Austin Butler. You know, the basic beats that you expect in this kind of story, they're in the film. So it just means it's not a very original story. It's a fairly predictable story. And yeah, just in general, I didn't find myself getting overly invested in the characters. Not in a way where it falls flat on its face and I just didn't care at all. I just didn't quite care enough. So when the film's going in a bit more of an emotional direction towards the end, I just didn't really feel what the film wanted me to feel. So narratively and emotionally, the film could have been a bit more than it was. But as it stands, I still enjoyed the Bikeriders. It was an interesting and fairly entertaining biker story that was pretty well acted. And like I said, I just enjoyed all the biker vibes. I enjoyed hanging out with this biker club. So it's kind of a hangout film in that regard. And you know how I feel about hangout films.